Advanced Studio Classroom is on the air. Disney vacation opportunities for the whole family. Hello and welcome to Advanced Studio Classroom. I am your host, Joe, and today we are talking about Disney vacations for all ages. And actually, this is a 3-day article. It's in our adventure feature for the month. And joining me today, I have two amazing panelists. The first one, he's joined me on several programs I have, it's David.
Hello, Joe. So good to be back. I'm loving it.
Oh, nice enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah.
And we have Hazel.
Well, hi, everybody. It's good to be here, especially talking about fun things.
I know. I feel like we bring you on for kind of fun things, the more animals, trips, that kind of thing.
And animals.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Right
on. And, Disney vacations, I often think of them as, they're kind of expensive, they're a little bit pricey, but they're quite an experience. And I've been to a couple of the Disney theme parks, and I wanted to ask our panelists before we get started with the article, have you been to a Disney theme park?
I sure have. When I was just a little girl, our family drove across the U.S. from Maryland to California, and we went to the original Disneyland. And so it had just been open for a few years at that time, and it was great. And every couple years, maybe every 4 years, we'd do that. Well, we did that several times when we were children. And then I've been to Orlando. It's about a 15-hour drive from where we are, and my brother used to take us maybe every summer or every other summer. He'd just say, let's go to Disneyland. It's like, okay. Actually, that's called Disney World in Orlando.
That's right. And that's actually, these are the two theme parks we're talking about today, is Disneyland and Disney World.
Right.
Right. Well, how about you, David?
I've never been to any Disney park, actually. Yeah, it was just never part of my experience. In fact, my family, we used to joke about it, about how Disneyland and Disney World, that's just something that, rich people do. And we would just, make jokes about the fact that we don't go to Disney because it's just not what we do, right? Oh. We went to other theme parks, though. We in my hometown, I'm from Pennsylvania. You guys know that.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a park. There are several parks in Pennsylvania, but there's one called Hershey Park. Mm-hmm. Hershey's the same company as the chocolate company.
Oh, really?
And so, yeah, I mean, maybe every other summer, usually not every summer, but maybe every other summer we would go there. And we would, there was tons of fun. They kind of have a similar thing. We have Hershey Park, Hershey World. And then there's a water park called Dorney Park. Then my mom's family would come down from Pittsburgh, and then we would all go together with my aunts and my uncles and my cousins. And that was loads of fun.
I remember getting to go to Disney World. I've never been to Disneyland. Disney World was a little bit easier access, East Coast.
Right.
I remember making those 14-hour drives.
Mm-hmm, right.
And I was miserable to be in a car with for 14 hours as a kid. I don't know. But, you get the sense that really these sorts of Disney vacations, or really theme parks in general, are often kind of a full family experience.
They can be. I've been to Hershey Park before a couple of times. Very nice in Pennsylvania. But something about Disney, it's just, the characters there, and It's a lot of fun and special. And I'm amazed at how the prices really have gone up. So when you say, oh, it's for rich families, that wasn't always the case. I think it seems to be going up. And maybe that's true of most theme parks. I'm not sure.
Right, yeah. It's hard, those sort of prices going up. It definitely does kind of bar certain income, families with certain incomes. But we hope that, this 3-day article will maybe get you kind of interested in some of the Disney offerings. There's quite a lot, as you will find out over the next 3 days. And so we're going to be starting today by talking about Disneyland and Disney World. So we're going to get that first reading.
Disney vacations for all ages. The best Disney vacation for every decade of your life. Disney is one of those getaways that excites travelers of all ages. From our formidable childhood to our golden years, Mickey Mouse and friends are there to build memories with us every step of the way. That being said, there are various spots that are better suited to certain age groups. That's why we put together this list of the best Disney trips for every decade of your life. There is undoubtedly a Disney experience for you from age 2 to 82. And the beauty of this list is it can be mixed and matched or reversed entirely. The journey is up to you.
So it says here, Disney vacations for all ages. And so it's not just limited to kids enjoying Disney World.
No, Disney is great for all ages. There's something for everybody there. They have parades and they have, as we're going to find out later the next day or two, all kinds of different events and different things going on there.
Right. It's not just all roller coaster rides or anything like that.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it fun, is that especially if you know the movies and you know the characters, you go there and you feel like you're part of the world. It really is it's something to really get you and your imagination engaged.
Oh, right. And this article, I think what's really interesting is it kind of gives you what's the best Disney vacation for your specific age group.
Mm-hmm, yeah. It says, I like the deck here. It's the best Disney vacation for every decade of your life. So it's like, whether you're 10 years old or 70 years old, there's always something fresh that you can do.
Right. And that opening line there, Disney is one of those getaways that excites travelers of all ages. And so, that really ranges, Hazel.
Right. And I think you're going to find different age groups, the decades, and those are great suggestions. But probably any Disney park at any age would be entertaining and a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And so, it says from your formidable childhood to golden years. What exactly is a golden year?
So your golden years basically just means when you are more mature, right? When you've been working for many years, maybe you've retired, you're trying to kind of just spend time with your grandkids, right? Those are your golden years where you're kind of just I made it years.
The I made it years.
But what is a formidable childhood?
Now, this is something that I find really interesting, this pairing, and I'm not entirely sure what they're getting at here. Any thoughts?
I think it's when they use formidable here, they're talking about time in your life when you're easily influenced. So I think they sort of mean when you're a child and you can have experiences that can change your whole view on things very easily because you just haven't experienced very much.
Well, I'm just making a face here because I'm thinking of formidable. To me, has a little bit of a dark side, maybe mischievous side.
Mischievous,
and I'm thinking of the word formative, the way you explain it. So maybe I need a little help with the vocabulary here.
I know.
I do too. It seems to me like they're using formidable the way they would use formative.
Okay.
That's my assumption because it doesn't really have much information other than that to help us go on.
This is kind of interesting. I look at this usage and I definitely can see where that question comes up because I see formidable as something that's sort of difficult.
Yeah,
right?
like a formidable
opponent.
Opponent. Right. Yeah.
And it could be, sometimes toddlers are called terrible twos because they just get in trouble all the time and they don't mean to. It's not that they're trying to be bad. It's just that they're always curious and wandering around and seeing how fast they can run and how many things they can open up and tear up and things. So I'm not sure if it means that or if it means the formative years. So
right. It's kind of interesting. And I think that this is kind of the fun thing about English language or the difficult thing.
Yeah, that's not fun for everybody.
Yeah, it's sort of the sort of vagueness that comes in. But at least we're clear on golden years.
That's
we know what golden years
true.
are. Yeah,
there we
clear
go.
on golden years.
And apparently Mickey Mouse and friends are there to build memories with us every step of the way. And that's the thing. The attraction here is a lot of the characters. The characters from the movies. And they note here, though, that there are various spots that seem better for certain age groups, Hazel.
That's right. So every decade of your life, you can experience something different. If you go to these different places as you reach that decade in your life, wow, you'll be traveling around the world.
Around the world, right?
Yeah, lots of opportunity. And when I read some of these, it's like, yeah, I think I'd like to go there. That would be fun.
I know there were a couple of these. I thought, all right. I missed the decade for it, but I think I want to try it.
Yeah, but thankfully, it says here also that the beauty of this list is that it can be mixed and matched or reversed. So you can go to any of these at any time. And actually, I agree with Hazel. For kind of one of the first times in my life, I started seriously considering, like, hey, maybe I will try to go to some of these places. I just never thought about it before, but reading this, I'm like, hey, it sounds kind of nice.
I think some families actually build their vacations on these places.
Oh,
Let's
yes,
go
they
to
do.
Disney,
Yeah.
And they enjoy, like I said before, the characters, the Mickey Mouse and the Goofy and all the princesses from the different movies and the songs. So it's, to first people to build their vacation around this, it might be a good choice because usually at these different locations, there's other things to see in the same city.
Oh, yeah. And I often think about it's such a part of American culture now. It used to be, for instance, at the end of like Super Bowl, like, the National Football League, they would ask players like, oh, you just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? And they'd say,
We're going to Disney World.
We're going to Disney World. That's like just a thing.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. And so, yeah, all these things that we're going to be talking about, can be mixed and matched. So don't think to yourself, oh, I missed that decade, I can't do it. No, it can all be kind of put together in an interesting package. And so, we're going to be looking at first, though, Disney theme parks that are in the United States. So let's look at that first one, Disneyland.
Your childhood. Disneyland. For your first foray into Disney, we recommend hitting up the original Magic Kingdom in Anaheim, California. After all, Disneyland, which opened in 1955, is the only park Walt Disney himself enjoyed alongside guests, making it extra special to visit today. The park may be smaller than its Florida counterpart, but it's easier to navigate for children. Plus, it's the only one that features the Matterhorn bobsleds. And there's always Disney California Adventure Park next door, which is home to Cars Land, Pixar Pier, and other kid-approved favorites.
So we get into your childhood, the first decade, Disneyland. And before we get into this paragraph, I want to say, if you're really interested in Disneyland, we actually did a YouTube video that starred David.
Oh, yeah, we did do that, yeah. Me and Manya.
Right. For 好像讲英文, all about Disneyland. So if you're looking for more specifics about Disneyland, I encourage you to head over to YouTube and look up Studio Classroom Disneyland. I thought it was a really fun video.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, for your first foray into Disney, they recommend this one. But what's a foray?
Well, a short trip, journey, adventure, your first experience, maybe?
Right. So your first little step into all of these Disney whatever theme parks, that this is a really good one to start off with. And this is located in California. But why might this be the best one to start with, David?
Well, it was the first one. It was one that opened in 1955. And it has this great history of being the only park that Walt Disney himself would enjoy alongside his guests.
Oh, that must have been a really special experience.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him there at the time, but yeah, that's what you think of. That's what I think of when I think of Disneyland is the original Disneyland. It's smaller than some of the other theme parks, but at the time, that was the place to go. I mean, it was... when I went, it was relatively new and it was fun. And the tickets, you bought a book of tickets and you couldn't use any ticket for any ride.
Oh.
Some were for the great rides and some were for the medium rides. And then you had a few tickets for the very rides that weren't real special, just, ordinary rides.
Whoa.
So things had changed a lot. Then it was you pay an entrance fee and you ride on as many things as you want, which is a much better deal, I think.
A little bit more convenient.
Sure.
Yeah, rather than having a whole book of tickets.
Yeah.
And I think they use that tagline, it's like the happiest place on earth. I don't know
That's
if that's
right.
where it originated, right?
Yeah, I think it
the
is,
first
yeah.
one there. And so, like Hazel mentioned, it is smaller than its Florida counterpart.
Yeah, counterpart just sort of means like there's another one like it somewhere else, right? So its Florida counterpart is there's another Disney theme park,
Right.
and it's smaller than that one.
And so it's easier to navigate for children. And I would definitely say that this is true because Disney World, as we're going to be sharing about in a bit, is just absolutely huge.
It is huge, but even though it's smaller, it is still a little bit hard to navigate depending on how crowded it is. And, there's still different areas with different themes, and getting around with children can be a little bit more difficult. But imagine if you went to one of the other places, it would be so much bigger.
Right, yeah. And apparently it has a couple of other very special features.
Yeah, it's the only one that features the Matterhorn bobsleds, which I looked that up. Apparently, it was the first continuous track roller coaster. I don't know what that means, but it was the first of its kind to be built, which I think is pretty interesting.
Oh, interesting. So this is so it has its own sort of special category of roller coaster that it was first. Have you been on this Matterhorn?
Oh, yeah, sure. When I went, you would actually see the climbers climbing up the Matterhorn, of course, dressed in the Switzerland outfits and things like that. They probably still do that, I guess. But it was just when you're a kid, it's like, what's the Matterhorn? But, of course, it's a very famous mountain.
In Switzerland, right?
Big
Yeah, in the
challenge
Swiss
to
Alps,
climb.
right.
And, of course, this is a smaller scale, but the roller coaster goes in and out between the rocks and the, openings in there.
Oh, that sounds nice. I've never been to Disneyland. I've only been to Disney World, but I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to go to the original theme park.
Right. So you know that if you go to the Orlando Disney World, it's got a Magic Kingdom. So, and it's got other parts too. So essentially, it's the Magic Kingdom part in L.A. in Anaheim, and you don't get the Epcot Center and the other things.
Oh, so you just focus on that Magic Kingdom
Right.
there.
Okay.
Now, apparently, right next door, there is another attraction.
Yeah, there's also the Disney California Adventure Park right next door. So if you're in Disneyland and it's a little small and you've already gone on the Matterhorn a few times, you can go right next door. And then there will be some newer attractions from some newer movies, like the Cars Land from the movie Cars, Pixar Pier, which is I guess a lot of different rides themed after Pixar movies, right? Like Toy Story and stuff. And other kid-approved favorites.
Kid-approved favorites, Hazel. What's going on with that?
Well, we're all welcome to be kids again. And, some theme parks might be too scary for children, or maybe they don't know the movies or something. But this is approved for kids. Kids like Toy Story. They like Cars. They like all those Disney movies. And when they go to the Pixar, it must be the animated movies that Disney has.
Right. So, well, that sounds really good. And now we're going to move on to what they call here your tweens and teens, talking about Walt Disney World.
Your tweens and teens. Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, anchors not just 2, but 4 main gates, as well as a pair of water parks. Magic Kingdom is the most popular attraction here, thanks to its costume characters, epic fireworks show, and exciting rides. Meanwhile, Epcot, Disney's Hollywood Studios, and Disney's Animal Kingdom, plus Disney's Blizzard Beach and Disney's Typhoon Lagoon water parks, are perfect for older kids and adolescents. As children grow taller, they can access even more thrilling rides, like the exhilarating Test Track Epcot or the mysterious Expedition Everest Animal Kingdom. Kids might even be patient enough now to enjoy Disney Springs themed shopping, dining, and entertainment offerings.
So, tweens. What's going on there, David?
All right, well, I won't go into too much detail because this is actually something I think is a little crazy. But tweens are basically people that are between childhood and being teenagers.
Well, you use the key word there, between.
Yes, between. That's where we get this word tween from. So it tends to be, some people put it at like from 8 to 10. I think that's a little young. I think it's more like maybe from 10 to 12 or maybe 9 to 12 or that age range.
Right. Anything before 13. And actually, my niece, she had just celebrated her 13th birthday, and she's like, I'm not a tween anymore. I'm a teenager. She made a big deal about it.
I know. My sister, when she got to be 13, said, it seems like only yesterday.
Oh, and being so young and only yesterday.
That's right, trying to reminisce when you're so young.
Yeah, oh. And so apparently for this age group, it's Walt Disney World is the big place to go. And so Walt Disney World is, we've already mentioned, is located in Orlando, Florida. And this is like the key feature now of Orlando, I think.
Probably, and it was for years, I think. I think when I went there, it was just two main parts. You had the Magic Kingdom and Epcot Center. Well, I guess there was also a safari park, so maybe three.
Right, and I do think
it keeps expanding, right?
It keeps expanding, and I do think they started initially with just those two, Magic Kingdom and Epcot, and they talk about this. It anchors not just two but four main gates. What is this anchors, David?
I think anchors here is just it features, right? It has it's holding it within this park. It has not just two, but four main gates, right? That are kind of like keeping the park together that it has there.
I remember once upon a time when they only had three, and they were adding that safari.
I see.
Animal Kingdom, and that was like the brand new thing.
Right.
And so it's a really intense experience, but probably the most popular attraction is Magic Kingdom, right, Hazel?
Probably. And again, that's like the big magic castle and all the princesses that you're used to, the fairy tale land and adventure land and things like that.
Right. And this is where you get that beautiful shot of like the castle and some of the fireworks that go off with it. And it's just magical.
Yeah, I actually do really like that. My favorite Disney movie was one of my favorite Disney movies was Beauty and the Beast. So I really like the way, the castles and that element of it, that kind of fairy tale element of it has always kind of captured my heart.
Right. And now, like Hazel's mentioned, they've been expanding, and so they have a lot of other parks now.
Right. The Epcot Center I've been to several times, and it's kind of scientific. You ride on rides, but you're learning things, so it's educational as well as fun. And it's a great way to learn things about history or about science and agriculture, and I recommend it. We would usually get tickets that we could cross over from the Magic Kingdom to Epcot Center without paying extra. So you can do that. There's different ways to pay, but it was a lot of fun.
There's a special term for that kind of pass. What is that called? Park hopper? Is that right?
Park hopper, something like that. Yeah.
I remember you teaching that phrase.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
I remember Manya said that one.
Yeah.
He knows all about that.
So there's a whole set of special terminology with Disney tickets. So
I had no idea.
I know. They've been, very fancy. Yeah. And then they also have, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, and then they also have water parks like Blizzard Beach, Typhoon Lagoon. I've never been to the water parks, but I've always wanted to go. My mom would be like, listen, it's just a water park. I'm like, but it's a Disney water park.
It's a Disney water park. Yeah.
And all of these things are just perfect for older kids because, as children grow taller, they can do more things.
Sure, you can go on scary rides or faster rides. But they have other kinds of rides, too. Maybe you can ride in a boat along the river and see hippopotamus stick their ears up.
Right.
I think they're kind of fake ones, but you can see all kinds of things. And, of course, when you go to a Disneyland or Disney park, they're very careful. They train the workers there to say certain things, to be able to answer questions in a certain way. And it's a certain routine that they need to follow. But everyone's very friendly and helpful and smiling, and it's a nice place to go and forget about your troubles.
Right. Even with that many people and all the things to do there, it's not that stressful of an environment because everyone that works there is like really helpful and very, very professional. And, there are lots of things to do there. And I actually, when I was reading this and looking at the test track, I just got all sorts of memories of riding that thing.
Yes, the exhilarating
Exhilarating
test track. Exhilarating is a great word. It just, it's kind of like really exciting, breathtaking, wow, kind of feeling.
Right.
It gives you energy thinking about it.
Just thinking about it.
Exhilarating. Yeah.
That's a fun experience. In Epcot, other than science, I remember they have that countries around the world. There's a part where you can walk
through.
through.
Yeah, that's right, and that's beautiful. So
That would be cool.
each building represents a certain country, and
Right.
maybe you can hear a band from Switzerland, and then you keep walking and you see the pyramids of Egypt, and it's very, very nice.
Right. I remember as a kid loving the Japanese section because they had the gates.
Wow.
They build these gates in the water. It was just mind blowing as a 10-year-old to be like, whoa.
I'm in Japan, but I'm in...
Right, and they'll have restaurants that
yeah.
that match the country that they're from.
And so, there are a lot of different things there. And then there's one other thing you can do if you have a child who's a little bit more patient.
Oh, if you got a child that's a little bit more patient, then you can enjoy some of the Disney Springs themed shopping, dining, and entertainment offerings. So if you have a kid that doesn't just have to be running around to rides all the time, then you can enjoy some of these kind of more relaxing, low-key activities.
Shopping.
Shopping.
They have the best stores for shopping if you want a souvenir and you like the Disney characters. They have all kinds of keychains and stuffed animals and hats. It's just a lot of fun.
I'm actually really excited because now with Disney owning Star Wars and Marvel, they've also been adding those things into the mix. And so I've heard, they've got the a Star Wars theme park section going.
Nice.
And kind of building that out. And I'm kind of looking for an excuse to get back to the United States now to go and check that.
Yeah. Kind of want to see that too. Actually.
Right. But, what's crazy is, you have this kind of paragraph here that lists so many things, but actually there are still more things to do.
Yeah.
And there are still more things inside of Disney World to enjoy. It's just never ending.
Right. One thing that comes to mind is the parades that they have.
Oh,
they
yeah.
have beautiful parades at night and at certain times during the day. And what we would do is we'd watch the parade, and then the next time the parade came, instead of watching it, we'd go on the ride that usually has the longest lines.
Oh, smart.
Because nobody's in line, they're all watching the parade. So that's a nice strategic thing you can try.
Good strategy. I remember some of the longest lines I stood in were to get signatures from Disney characters.
Really?
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are sections of the park where you can go and you line up and you can take a picture and get them to sign it. You can get Mickey Mouse to sign your autograph book.
Wow.
I still have mine from when I was 6.
Wow,
that's so
that's
sweet.
nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. Well, we have just barely begun to scratch the surface of what Disney has to offer. So we encourage you to join us again tomorrow as we start to go international with Disney's offerings. I'm your host, Joe, and today we've had
David
and
Hazel.
this is us saying goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.